but by how much?
By a great deal, because even minor disruption is now in scope. It's the constitutional aspect of this which is really coming to the fore, because viewers will know that we've been covering the evils of public order legislation, a whole raft of it in Britain for a while. Now, the key word on screen at the moment from Hansard, the record of parliamentary transactions, in this case the House of Lords last week on the 13th of June, is the word regulations. Because regulations, secondary legislation, that is stuff written by government ministries and just waved in front of the nose of Parliament, laid in front of only the lower chamber, the House of Parliament, House of Commons, and if they fail to object, as you've covered many times before, Mike, that becomes law, but it was never voted on by Parliament or debated by Parliament. The upper house, the House of Lords, has got more scope, but we don't have time to get into the nitty-gritty of it. But let's see what the outrage is, and the unexpected person in the House of Lords who did a sterling job of drawing attention to it, alas, unsuccessfully. So the legislation was introduced that evening by Lord Sharp of Epsom, who is the Under Secretary of State for the Home Office, and the relevant part of his remarks to the House of Lords was that these regulations built further clarity by adding a non-exhaustive list, so police have further discretion beyond this, of examples of serious disruption to the life of the community, a very strange, almost pseudo-religious phrase that we never had in English law before, the life of the community. And so the regulations explicitly say that police or councils can intervene to prevent a hindrance that is more than minor to the carrying out of day-to-day activities, such as making a journey. This is, of course, these staged sit-ins. Read Simon Elmer's piece, The Politics of Environmental Fundamentalism, on our website to find out what's being done here. But under cover of this Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion sort of pet protesters issue, the fake remedy has come in. The reaction to the problem has come in. We go through on Hansard and we find that it was Baroness Jenny Jones, a member of the Green Party, who heroically coordinated, alas, an unsuccessful campaign. I won't read it all out, but she said that this was a make or break moment for democracy. Her ally who backed her that evening, Lord Coker, Bernard Coker, said that conventions were now being broken. The government was not respecting them. Jenny Jones was quite right to say that we don't have a codified constitution. She did not say we have an unwritten constitution. I think she's been mugging up quite well on the constitution, actually. By convention, she reminded the House of Lords that they've been browbeaten to think of themselves for a century now as the unelected upper chamber, but it's only by convention, as Lady Jones quite rightly said, that they would not block primary legislation. And this is secondary, so she spotted for the first time that there was an opportunity for the Lords to stop this. At root, of course, what's gone on here is that it was in a draft of primary legislation that police could stop a minor annoyance protest, and the Parliament said no. Then the government, the ministry responsible, the Home Office, simply wrote it into regulations, submitted that to Parliament and said, well, how about that then? So that's where it's gone. We'll have to speed through the rest of this, but Jenny Jones said that it's a turning point for parliamentary democracy. This Hansard debate link will be in the show notes, and have a look for the phrase constitutional outrage. You'll see that 3 Lords, if I counted correctly, used that very phrase. Not just Lady Jones. She gave a concrete example of people being told that the police will turn up to and say, your protest is banned because I believe it will cause more than minor disruption, a very low bar. She went on to say, of course, this is too much to read now, but if we don't stop this assault on democracy now, it will become more than a one-off and there'll be no opportunity really to stop it. So this is quite a shock, I think, that to Lady Jones that things have got this far. The vote, unfortunately, was 154 against her amendment to remove that phrase and 68 in support. She had tried to get all the independent Lords, the non-party whipped ones, to stand with her. Rather shows that the point of the House of Lords to be non-political and non-elected is quite right. Green World, in covering this, covered Lady Jones's point quite well. And if you freeze the screen now, you will see that the Parliament Acts, which really cabbaged the House of Lords' role, never envisaged the growth of secondary legislation, which is why Lady Jones was able to use this loophole to call on the Lords to do their constitutional duty. But alas, one after the other, the Lords that evening in the debate said, oh, I'm not going to trouble convention now. We're not elected. We have to know our place. Pretty rotten state of affairs there.
And then there's one final one there, Alex. Suella Braverman actually being taken to court over the ability to protest?
This is the unexpected denouement, actually, that the Home Secretary, so the Interior Ministry to foreign viewers, has now had the what used to be called the National Council for Civil Liberties, now just called Liberty, write to her and saying, our interpretation is that you have broken the law, because Parliament rejected this power for police to say this is more than minor disruption, away with you or we'll arrest you, and you've rammed it through using secondary legislation. You've ignored and insulted the will of Parliament. There's the key bit on screen at the moment. Braverman said, of course, this was to do with people being fed up with Just Stop Oil without using them by name. But Liberty is now trying to start a judicial review, take the matter to a judge. And Liberty said that this violates the constitutional separation of powers because the measures had already been rejected by Parliament. So there are a few people, and I wouldn't have expected a Green Baroness and Liberty to be them, but there are a few people who know that we have a written, though not codified, constitution, and it does have separation of powers.
Yes, okay, thank you for that, Alex. Okay, if you like what the UK Column does, you would like to support us, please head over to community.ukcolumn.org. Your membership very much needed, and you're welcome to join us in the forums and so on, and for extra after the main news programme. You could also pick something up at the UK Column shop. But please do share anything you find on the various platforms, especially on ukcolumn.org and ukcolumnextracts.co.uk. Debi, very, very briefly, your latest blog is now up.
It is mRNA in animals, Pfizer announcing antibiotic shortages, chocolateflation, would you believe? And if you've got any gender critical views, you're not welcome in Wix. That and more.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And tomorrow, 1 p.m., we're streaming out an interview that Debi did a few days ago with Dr. Naomi Wolf. And the question is, did Pfizer know? A stark but honest warning from Dr. Naomi Wolf. And because we are going to be in Scotland on Friday, there'll be no UK Column news on Friday. So instead, you will get an interview that David Scott is holding with Ben Rubin. And the title is The Rise of Big Data in Healthcare. So a reminder that on Friday, we will be at the Rally for Peace and Freedom outside Holyrood, next to the Scottish Parliament. That's actually 2 p.m. on Saturday. On Saturday, that is. So that Brian will be speaking at that. David Scott will be speaking at that. A whole bunch of other people, David Clues, Peter Ford, Lauren Wilson, Colin Buchanan, Alex Pearce. So that's Saturday, 24th at 2 p.m. So hopefully everybody that's in that neck of the woods will be able to come and join us there. Okay, let's move on to